Hi, this is Rosalind from A Little R&R, and I'm here with Mandy Kelly in promotion of her book bundle, the Kelly Bundle, and the Kelly Giveaway. And this bundle sale and giveaway is to promote her adoption and to raise money for their adoption. And so that's what we're talking about today. We're going to be talking with Kelly about the process and everything. So why don't you just introduce yourself and your blog?
Well, like Rosalind said, I'm Mandy, and I am the founder at Women of Worship. I do the posts on Tuesdays and Thursdays and Fridays. I have some contributors that help out in the week, but I'm still the founder and main writer over there, and I blog about just women worshiping God with every aspect of their life. That everything we do, from our homemaking to our parenting to our marriage to our time in the Word, all of that is part of our worship to God. It's not just what we do in church corporately when we sing, but that it is really worship is our life. And I feel like women need to understand that. And when we understand that our lives are worship to Him, I think it helps us understand, do all to the glory of God, because you are worshiping with your life.
That's great. That is wonderful. I love that. So tell us a little bit about your family.
Well, I am married to my wonderful husband, Scott. We've been married for 2 years. And my husband was a widow when we got married, and so I jumped right into motherhood. We have 3 children. We have a girl that's 13, and then a son who is 10, and then a little bit who is 6. And they're awesome. I struggle with infertility, and so I never expected to have children. And so it was a big blessing to me to get 3 at one time. When Scott and I got married, they were very impressionable ages of 9, 6, and 3. And so, and all getting ready to have birthdays. So those, that was a big jump. So I always say that when I said I do, and with I do and a kiss, I became a wife and a mom. And, I have wonderful in-laws who, both Scott's in-laws from his first marriage and Scott's mom, who just really support us and have allowed me to be mommy. And they call me mom, and each on their own accord at different times. And so it's been a beautiful watching God not just write a beautiful love story, but watching Him write a beautiful family story for us as well.
That's wonderful. That's beautiful. So now tell us, what made you want to adopt?
Well, like I said, I struggled with infertility. I have an ovulation disorder, and there's medicines and things like that you can take. But the heart of my story comes from when I was a little girl. I didn't know my real dad growing up. My mom, before she was a believer, got pregnant with me, and she was actually going to have an abortion. But her best friend, who recently passed away from cancer, that's why I get a little choked up. Her best friend really encouraged her to talk to her parents and to do the best thing. And so my mom decided to single parent at 19. And so here I was, and we lived with my grandparents, and they helped raise me. But when I was 3, the same age as my little one, when she met me, my mom met my dad, and the man I call my dad.
Yeah.
And it takes so much more than DNA to make a family.
Yeah.
God makes a family. And so he came in, and my mom told him, look, I come with a baby, and it was okay. And they started dating and got married. And one of my very first memories is calling him Dad for the first time. And so I really feel like God prepared me from birth for adoption, because, the Bible says that, that we weren't His, and that, we don't belong to Him before we're Christians. But then He adopts us into that love, and where we can call Him Abba, Father, which means Daddy. And so I really got that great picture of God's love from my adopted dad. So they were married when I was 3, and they're still together today. against all odds. Everybody told them they wouldn't make it, and they're still together and still happy. And I have siblings with them, with my dad, and so all through life I've always been very tender to the idea of adoption.
Yeah.
I have worked with kids my whole life, and I was a teacher by trade. I've done mission work all over the world, working with kids, and so adoption was a big part, especially going to different places and seeing what kids were like. And so I always thought I would adopt internationally, and then the year before Scott and I got married, I started really having some issues with my reproductive system. And so I found out that I don't ovulate the way most women do. I do, but it's not very conducive to getting pregnant.
Right.
And so before Scott and I got married, like I said, he was married previously, and so he had procedures done because they thought they were done having children. Right. So we went to a family friend of ours that was a urologist, but they also were an adoptive family. And they had adopted from China and domestically here in the United States. And they kind of looked at both of what our issues were, and they're like, well, you can get reversal surgery for what Scott's had done, but that's not a guarantee. There's no guarantees of that, and it's expensive. Yeah. I could go on ovulation treatments, but there's no guarantee that they will work. I could have in vitro, which is when they plant the baby, but that's a very expensive process and doesn't always work. Yeah. Or you can do adoption, which is, again, a very expensive process, but at the end of the day, maybe years from now, there will be a baby in our home. Yeah. And so we just felt like the best stewardship of our money and our resources were going to be to adopt. Yeah. And so that's kind of how we got on this journey. Of course, I adopted the 3 that we have, and so I felt like I understood what that was like. I had a great example from my dad. My dad never loved me any differently than he loved my brother and sister, and so so I felt like I had a good example. And we really want to change the lives of not just this baby, but hopefully this birth mom, or birth family as well. And so we've had a lot of positive influence in our lives about adoption. And like I said, originally we were going to adopt foreign internationally, but God just really put the desire on my heart to have a baby. Lizzie was 3 when I got her, and so I really wanted to experience, as weird as this sounds, the middle of the night. Just that little one that needs you for everything. I didn't experience that. She was able to eat Cheerios on her own, and if she needed to, she can survive. So I wanted that fresh newborn that would need me from the get-go. And like I said, we just really feel like the book of James, it says that if anyone among you thinks he is religious and does not bridle his tongue but deceives his own heart, this one's religion is useless. Pure and undefiled religion before God and the Father is this: to visit orphans and widows in their trouble, and to keep oneself unspotted from the world. And God says that the purest form of religion is to love those who don't have anybody to love them. And we believe our birth mom is going to make a decision in love to have this child, but who knows what would happen to them in the system if they didn't have somebody to love them. And so we're just really passionate about getting the education and the idea of adoption out there.
That's wonderful. That's just so beautiful. Tell us a little bit about the process. What has the process been like?
Well, the process started with us with prayer. Like I said, we were doing international when we first started. And so you start looking for agencies. You can do a private adoption with just a lawyer and another person, but that's hard. I mean, you have to find a person, and sometimes lawyers can charge you more because, they're doing everything for you.
Right.
So we really wanted to go with an agency, and so after we changed, well, we didn't change our minds. God changed our minds about having a domestic adoption with a baby. We just started praying and seeking for agencies, and we found a Christian agency that not only works in America but works all over the world. So if we choose to adopt again, we could use the same agency and adopt, internationally.
Right.
And so we just really prayed, and we sought wise counsel. Like I said, I've got several friends who have gone through the adoption process, and so we sought a lot of wise counsel. We talked a lot. I think with adoption, you and your husband have to be able to communicate because there's so much going on. So we picked an agency, and we started the preliminary process. There was a application that we had to fill out, so we filled that out, and we went to a meeting and found out about this agency's what their heart was, and this is a Christian agency, so there was a lot of good, positive things that we felt in that meeting. So from there, then we got scheduled for another class, and this one was more specific, and each step of the way we had money that we had to pay. Yeah. And so we've as of yet we've paid about $7,000 to $9,000 out of pocket. There's a payment we've got to make this in the next week. So we've paid quite a bit out of pocket, which I think is important to note because so many people want to know why we're fundraising. And I just feel like it's always important to say that my husband and I, we did save, and we did for 2 years we did cut way back financially to make some of this happen. So we've paid about $7,000 as of yet. But you go through, you have to go to a doctor's, you have, well checks. And for us, that was for a family of 5. Insurance doesn't always cover that. Right. They only covered a well check for the youngest. So, all of those costs were out of pocket. Right. But then in February, we told our children that we were adopting. It was the baby's birthday, and so we got her, the big sister shirt. And she got to find out she's going to be a big sister. And so and our families are really supportive of this, so they were all really excited, and everybody was here. So that was really fun. But we went through an education class that really taught us all about adoption, how to deal with birth moms, how to deal with our family, what the process was going to look like, lawyers, and openness or not open, and and all of that. And then we did a home study where they had to come into my house and look at all my rooms, open every door at my house, and I'm a little OCD, and so my house, I really had to clean it. So they looked at all of our rooms, they interviewed our kids. We had an interview with individually where they talked with us about very personal things, how my husband has dealt with his wife's passing, how I deal with being married to a widow, which that's a whole nother video topic. Just so many different things that they wanted to know, how we parent. And so that was kind of where we're at. And then we finished that process up a few weeks ago, and now we are in the waiting process. We just got our home study approved, and so now what has to happen is when we go on the list to wait for a baby, we are saying in good faith that we will have the rest of the money to bring the baby home. It's not like a here's your baby, hand me your check kind of thing, but they do want to make sure that they have their money on their side of it when everything is done. So that's kind of where we're at right now. We're fundraising, and we've been fundraising through the month of August. We've raised, as of yet, before the bundle, we've raised about $2,000. So that's really exciting, and we're just praying and asking God to do some big things this week. So.
Yeah, I'm believing too. I really do, and I think it's going to go really well. The bundle it's excellent. Absolutely, Misty did a wonderful job putting it together, and there's so many incredible resources available for all of the women, and so I believe it's going to do really, really well.
I agree.
Now, tell us, so you have some future plans plans for some future adoptions as well. Is that right?
Potentially, yes. I have, and I can't say where, but I have been somewhere in the world, and that's very near and dear to my heart.
Yeah.
And so I would really eventually like to adopt from there.
Yeah.
So there is that, and it was really hard to battle. I really felt like I was battling on my knees with the Lord when we were doing this, because my heart was there.
Yeah.
You know, I served there. This place I served several times, and
Right.
so it was really hard because I wanted to bring a baby home from there.
Right.
But then I just kept feeling like the Lord pushing it on our hearts to do
Yeah.
this domestic. And the
Domestic.
difference is with international, you never see the baby's family
Yeah.
again. More than likely, I mean, there are cases. I shouldn't say never, but there are 9 times out of 10.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
just get the baby.
Yeah.
But our heart is really to love the lost.
Right.
And so we're really hoping that, you know, that we'll get a ministry to the birth family as well.
Birth family,
So yeah,
yeah.
there is some plans. We've talked about even fostering maybe when our kids get older,
Right.
just because we feel like that Jesus said, you know, to bring the children to him.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's something God's placed on my heart for my life, is to bring children to
Right.
Christ. And, you know, I teach preschool. I've worked in children's ministries. I've worked in teen ministry. And I really feel like, I really feel that call to, you know, when it says go, I also, you know, go therefore and bring, you know, tell all nations. To me,
Yeah.
I also feel that need to let the children come to him and
Yeah.
bring them to his lap,
Yeah.
and let them experience what it's like to have that father. And so many kids don't have a dad,
Yes.
and I feel like God is the perfect father.
Yeah. That's wonderful. That's an incredible vision to have. It really is. And to make a difference in a child's heart, you know, who, you know, might, like you said earlier, get lost in the system. And hold on one moment. I have to be a mother. No, it's not over yet. Over yet. Time's not over yet. Despite popular opinion. So what would you say to other families who are thinking of adoption? What advice would you give them?
Well, I would say, first of all, to pray. I mean, it is, I feel like, you know, after we get saved, at that point, Christ's blood justifies us. From then on, we're on a sanctification process. And this has been the biggest faith journey that I have ever been on. I was single for a very long time. I got married when I was almost 30.
Yeah.
And I watched girl after girl after girl find their spouse and get married and start having kids. I mean, the girls I mentored were getting married and having kids, and that was really hard.
Your story.
You know, Lord, what's wrong? And then I met Scott, and I realized why I was waiting.
Yeah.
But and marriage and motherhood, I feel like have taken me on a sanctification process of conforming me to Christ.
Yes.
But the biggest, even above that in some ways, this adoption process has been that.
Yeah.
I'm wearing a necklace today that has a mustard seed in it.
Mm-hmm.
It's really hard to see because mustard seeds are really small, but it's in this little flower pendant right here.
Mm-hmm.
And I would just tell adoptive families to have faith. If God has called you to it, he will bring you through it.
Yeah.
And it's not on your timetable, and it's not going to come the way you thought. I really thought I had a great support system of friends and family who were going to get behind our adoption, and just, you know, when we got to the point where we had to fundraise, people were just going to buy the t-shirt and buy the bracelet, and, you know, and not that people haven't supported us that I know. Like, I don't want to sound like I'm speaking down about the people that are in my life, but it has been so humbling, because it is the people that my heart is connected to, that
Yeah.
I've never met, like Rosalind, who I've ministered with, for in different seasons of life, and women I have not met. I've never put my arms around them,
Yeah.
and they are the women that are standing behind me, and they are I have a friend who I've never met, and she is probably, between this bundle and her personal donations, has probably donated more than even some of my family members.
Wow.
And I just, because she gets it, she sees the passion and she hears it, and so I would say don't be discouraged. God takes us each on a journey, and I want to worship God through this. And I think if all my friends that I knew growing up, if all of them threw money at this and it was just snap, like there's the $8,000 that you need to raise, I don't know that I would have given him the glory. I think I would have taken it because it was my friends, it was my acquaintances. I did that, and right now I have watched God bring in close to $2,000 so far that didn't come from those places. People who have rallied beside me, and all I can say is all glory and honor go to him. I mean, he is going to bring this baby home. And I know I have a long wait after we raise this money. I could have a 3-year wait. I wish I could tell you that there's going to be a victory post next week that we raised $8,000, and then 2 months later a victory post that the baby's home. But the reality is there might be a wait, and so I am learning patience again.
But that's important, though. I mean, the journey is as important to him as the destination is, and so on the journey that we learn so much. Thank you so much for sharing with us, Mandy. It's been so wonderful to hear your heart and to hear your vision for your family and the direction that God is taking you. And I know this bundle is going to do really well for you, and I know that the Lord is going to bring all the finances in and bring your baby home. Thank you.
Thank you so much for having me. And I just wanted to end by saying, in all of our adoption stuff, we have been using the verses from Ephesians 1:4-6. And I just wanted to leave with this. And it says, just as he chose us in him before the foundation of the world, that we should be holy and without blame before him in love, having predestined us to adoptions as son by Jesus Christ to himself, according to the good pleasure of his will, to the praise of the glory of his grace, by which he has made us accepted in his beloved. And just as he has adopted us, and before the foundation of the world, I know that there is a child out there that he is before the foundation of the world placed in our family. And I just want to thank all of you for just being a part of that. And you are doing something eternal. You are changing the lives of a child, and you're changing my life and my husband's and my kids. But my kids are on a faith journey with this, and I have one child that is not saved in my home, and she is watching. And so thank you for being the example of Jesus' hands and feet to our family.
Oh, that's wonderful.
So, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for letting us be on the journey with you.
Absolutely. Love you guys. Thank you.